So, the question is, can you summon a ghost? Now, we all know about Ouija boards, yeah?
Yep.
The Ouija board, the spirit board, and the conjuring up of...
Spirits.
Yeah, and talking to spirits in that way. And that's kind of what I'm getting at, but not totally. Now, if you think back to the early mediums, and back in the early 20th century, you've got your Eva C. You've probably seen her with the ectoplasm coming out of her ears and all that. Have you seen it? I'll show you some fucking pictures of that one, won't you?
You have to think like most Ouija boards. People say, I've known a few people who've said they've done them and it's thinking, but I think when they've all been done, but I think it's them pushing it myself personally. Never done one myself though, which I wouldn't mind trying just to see if it is a load of bollocks or not.
But we might have to look into it. Here you go. There's some pictures of the early 20th century mediums. Look at that, I'm facing it and that. And I'll put some of these pictures up and I'll do my own ectoplasm pictures actually.
Just to debunk them.
Yeah, for Twitter and that. But they got the Eva C. Now she probably started off in good faith as a medium, and I'm not discrediting all mediums.
Yeah, but back when mediums was all about, it was all the rage, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, this is the thing, and I think she maybe cottoned on to that a bit later on. But I think at the start, it all started because her fiance died of some tropical disease before they could get married, and I think that's when it started for her. She wanted to probably reach him. And so started looking into this. How can I contact him on the other side? And then I slowly progressed where people were interested. People coming around saying, "Oh, can yeah." And then when you're making money from it,
yeah. But who you got to think? If she's one of the first that known about, who started it off?
Oh, it goes back fucking centuries. Mediumship, yeah.
Because you had what did they call them? What was it called? What did the Vikings used to call them? Seers or something?
Oh yeah, you got like shamans and
shamans and all that.
Yeah, but they're probably a bit more legit.
Well, someone thought I can make a few bucks off this wet book.
She even had. She reckoned she was contacting some ancient. Can't remember what it was. Some ancient person. Anyway, she's like 300-year-old person, and then she had one of the stable guys at the house that they lived in. She had them running around, in the dark with a beard and a hat and all the rest of it, touching people and saying he was the spirit of this long dead person and all that. And you got the other guy, Leonard Stoat, I think his name was, Stott, and he was using the spirit trumpet. That where it was meant to, like, you just have a trumpet laid out somewhere, and then all of a sudden voices will start to come out of it. And when no one was touching it, you can actually still buy fucking spirit trumpets. That's how crazy it is. And ectoplasm as well. Like I say, she was famous for the ectoplasm that Eva C. And I mean, it's probably most famous for Ghostbusters and stuff like that now. But it's just crap. And then you got the TV mediums. Can we talk to the dead? I don't know. I watched some of these.
Do you know that one in Vet and Carl? Most Started, was it?
Oh, Derek
Corey. Yeah. I don't know what to make of that guy.
No, I don't. Well, there was a great story about the Most Started programme where they went to a pub. And the landlord who owned this pub had found this old chair. I think it was in the cellar or something like that. Anyway, he found this old chair, he brought it up because it looked cool, and he put it next to the fire. And then he just said some story about how this person had sat in it and died. And shortly after sitting in it, he died. And then it was became a cursed chair and all this. Anyway, he just made this story up to tell people about this chair. Not locals, people that could just come in for a laugh. Anyway, most night come down and they spend the day there. During the course of the day, the spokespeople and around the local area and the locals were saying about this chair. Oh yeah, the spirit of this fucking guy who died in this chair. So obviously, during the investigation that night, Derek Okora picks up on the spirit of this guy. You know what I mean? What never existed. It was just this bloke's story. But so you know what I mean. So, but like anything, if you're a medium and you're going to do that, where you're going to go to certain places around the country. Pick up on stuff. If it's your job to be a medium, you're going to know. You're going to have read every ghost book, every ghost story about any place in the world. I could probably tell you, like me, like whatever. I'm into UFOs and that sort of stuff. People that are probably could tell you different crashes that happen around the world. It's the same with the mediums. I think a lot of it's just remembering, research and remembering stuff. Obviously, every now and again, they're pointing out something brand new. There was a program on TV called Sensing Murder, And every now and again they did it on something that the police never revealed. I think there was one, I think it was based in either Australia or New Zealand, but there was one where the lady psychic, she picked up on that the body that was found had one boot on and one sock on, but there was on different feet. So they had a sock on the left foot and the boot on the right foot, but no sock on the right foot, which is weird. And the police never really revealed that information, but she picked up on that. Stuff like that, that's sounds...
Yeah, if the police never picked on that. If a medium, it's like someone at my work's a medium. Well, she does it. I think she goes to the conferences and all that crap. And she's read a few people at work, and they've said, she's been spot on, but she tried to read me, and what she was saying didn't make sense to me.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of that cold reading what goes into it.
She was just tidying up the yard, right? And she just said, there's a spirit around you, right? And guide you. I was like, right, what's he look like? Apparently he wears a hat, an old hat, and he wears dungarees with like socks appear like just look like 1940s or something like that. Yeah. Depression kind of thing, look like an old golfer. I was like, right, is that he's related to you? And I was like, right. So obviously after I finished, I went home, phoned him up and asked her. If we had anyone related, she said it was like kind of like a gangster kind of thing, right? And I was like, all right. So I phoned him up. We got related to when I used to be a gangster. She goes, no, don't talk wet.
Yeah, there you go. I've watched everyone's watched the medium, the TV mediums where they start talking about something, and they're hoping that people sort of just give them answers. And it's like, I was watching one just the other day, and it was like Colin, whatever his name is, and he was saying to this woman, I'm picking up. Obviously, this woman's about 60, 70. That's come to the thing. So obviously, it's not great science to work out that. Mum's probably passed. So he says, I'm picking up on an older lady. It's probably your mother. She passed. And she's like, oh, yeah, she's fucking passed. Well, obviously, you know what I mean? Unless she's fucking, 300 years old. So obviously she's passed. So obviously, so I was thinking, oh, here we go. And then he starts going on now about a button. Oh, she's showing me a button. A button. Does that mean anything to you? And the woman's like shaking her head and looking at her, the people that are with her. And she's like, well, no, fucking button. And he keeps going on about this button. Did a button fall off something or something? And she's going, no. Anyway, eventually he fucking says, she used to wear a blouse with buttons on it. And she went, oh yeah, fucking she. You know what I mean? I was like, oh for fuck, I just turned it off.
I don't like the TV ones. I think what's televised is just it's crap. It's all scripted.
But then afterwards, they meet him in the corridor afterwards, and they're saying, "How do you think that was?" And she's like, "Oh, he knew stuff that no one else said." No, and I thought, "No, he didn't. He fucking knew shit. He was fucking telling him."
It's like when they do your horoscopes, isn't it?
Oh, I don't.
And you read some of them. Venus is something over. There's romance on your cards. I went, "How's that? I'm married."
Yeah, horoscopes.
How's it going to be romance on your cards?
But they're contacting. They're contacting the dead or whatever. But what I want to know is, can you summon a ghost? So, this goes right back when. I mean, you got stories of the Jinn, from...
Jinn, yeah.
Yeah, you've heard of the Jinns.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Westerners now get the word genie derived from the word Jinn.
Well, a Jinn more of a monster than it was
It was a demon. It was
demon,
more or less a demon, yeah. But it was a supernatural creature from the early Arabian and Islamic mythology, and it used to, like you say, it was a din. It appears in loads of Islamic texts. The jinn's made of smokeless and scorching fire. So what you're talking about there is, it sounds more like a light, like a glowing light. You'd say, wouldn't you? Smokeless and scorching fire.
I'll tell you what, there must be some good drugs back then.
Yeah. Well, I know someone recently who had a jinn. She was married to a guy from Nigeria, and he was a Muslim himself, and he talked about these things to her, and eventually, obviously, she's not. I don't think she's with him anymore. But the house became possessed. Things started moving, and all this stuff. And she asked him. She said, "What's going on?" He said, "It's a jinn." And she'd walk into rooms and smell fire. Like burning, and she'd be looking around, what the fuck's on fire, looking at plugs and all that, and be nothing. But the stuff would be moving all around. Anyway, eventually she had to get someone to come in, and an imam or whoever it was had to come in and cleanse the house and get rid of this jinn. Yeah. So you got stories going back, right back there. You've got the Tulpas, which is the Tibetan for the similar sort of thing, but it's actually a Tibetan word which means to build or to create. They actually think there's 10 different forms of this spirit, and what it is, it's like if you're really spiritual or mystical, you can create almost an imaginary friend type situation, right? So you conjure up this ghost, and this is what I'm on about. That summoning of ghosts.
What about enlightenment?
You're bringing a spirit from a different realm, or some sort of realm or dimension, depends how you want to look at it. I mean, but you're bringing you're summoning this creature forward, this spirit, and you're giving it a life of its own. And when you pull these spirits forward, you've got no control over its personality. It don't matter if you do this 10 times. Every time you do it, you're going to get a different spirit come through, a different personality. You're never going to get the same one. Like people, they're just like people. And there was a case of a lady called Alexandra David Neal. And it was back in 1868, I think it was. She was in Tibet, and she was learning about all this. And she had a go herself at conjuring one of these spirits up. And she was meant to have covered up a friar or like a monk. Yeah. She called him the Jolly Monk. And when he started out, he came to her, like I say, his imaginary friend. The only thing with this one is other people saw him as well. So these, I'm using the imaginary friend loosely because I'm not really talking about. I mean, the Indian Buddhists, they believe that these tulpas were imaginary, illusionary. Those creations of your own mind. But then you get other people who see other people's tulpas. So it is physical as well as spiritual. So anyway, so she conjured this Jolly Monk up, and at first he was all right and he was friendly and he talked to her and he'd enlighten her. He talked to her about certain things and that, and other people. But then as he lived with her for a while, the more and more time passed, the more nasty it got, the more he wanted, and eventually she had to destroy him in some sort of ceremony or whatever. So there was this idea that humans can tap into this realm that we're not quite sure about. I always look at ghosts like the light spectrum. Yeah. You can see your colours, but then you can't see your infrareds and your ultraviolets and stuff. But they're still there. You know what I mean? They're just not visible.
Using that technology now, aren't they, in space?
So this is the thing, and I think ghosts. Same with like a dog whistle. You know what I mean? You can blow a whistle, the dog can hear it, but you can't hear it.
Same with
Don't mean it's not there, does it? But I think the ghosts, maybe to my mind, is something similar. They're in that spectrum that we just can't see, and I think what we're doing here is bringing these creatures or these spirits into our spectrum so we can see them for a time.
Isn't everything done on sound though? Waves?
Yeah, everything's frequency, I think, when you
different frequencies, aren't there?
Yeah. Now, there was an experiment done called the Philip experiment. Have you heard about this?
Nope.
Okay.
Can't say that I have.
Right, the Philip experiment was basically done by the members of the Toronto Society for Psychical Research. Now, none of the people that were involved in this were mediums or claimed to be mediums or anything like that. It was just literally, they did an experiment to see if they could, do a Ouija board or whatever and get something come through. Okay, the people that were involved in this group they were all, decent standard people,
open-minded.
Yeah, and
you have to be open-minded if you do something like that. It's got to be.
One was a nurse, one was a former chairman of an organisation which dealt with people with high IQs. There was an industrial designer. There was all different kinds of people. It was all cross-section of society. There was no people that were really into this or anything. It was just an experiment. But the way they did this, they gave the spirit, Philip, they gave him a backstory. So it was not based on a real person. It was based on, completely fictional character. So they gave him a backstory, and I'll just read a bit of this. So they called him Philip Aylesford. He was born in England in 1624. He had an early military career. At the age of 16, he was knighted. He had an illustrious role in the Civil War. He became a personal friend of Prince Charles, later Prince Charles II. He worked for him as a secret agent, but Philip brought on his own undoing by having an affair with a gypsy girl. When his wife found out, she accused the girl of witchcraft. The girl was burned at the stake. In despair, Philip committed suicide in 1654 at the age of 30. So they gave him, so they knew his backstory and all the rest of it. And what's really good about this experiment is that they got the Ouija board, they got everything going on, they got the guy that they want to talk to. Nothing happened, right? So they're on the Ouija board for weeks, whatever. Nothing happens. Things started happening when they wasn't concentrating on it. It was almost like it was building from their conversations and all the rest of their talk about him. Rather than just sitting there waiting for something to happen, the more they talked about him, the more they discussed him, the more energy he got, and he actually became a real entity. So there's other people witnessed this as well, not just the people in the group. They actually saw tables levitate, rapping. They got loads of knockings, on tables. No one was touching tables, and they'd ask a question, and they get knocked. Like one knock for yes, two knocks for no on the table. And this happened without saying, no one touching the table. Now this experiment was repeated. I think it's been repeated a couple of times, and with almost exactly identical results. So basically made a fictional character up and got something back. They got him to manifest. You know what I mean? And this is why I'm saying, can you summon an entity from another realm? I mean, is this what's going on here? So you got that. And then there was another one, a skull experiment. You heard about these? Yep. This happened in a little village called Skull. It's just outside London in England. This was in the mid-90s. And it happened at the home of Robin and Sandra Foy. And what they did, they invited two mediums, Diana and Alan Bennett. And they were well-known mediums at the time. And what they did, they met at the cellar of the Foy's home, and they called it the Skull Hole. That's what they called this cellar. And they had a table in there, just your general seance sort of room table, and they all sat around it, and they met twice a week. I think the experiment lasted 5 years, and they said themselves that nothing happened for about a year. Literally, they just met there, they did the Ouija board and all the rest of it, and literally nothing happened for a year. But then stuff started happening. Do you reckon it might be something to do with energy? Yeah, I think it is. I think it's a case of... If you sit somewhere long enough, obviously they say we've got our own energy, and then we're dishing that out. So if you're going to manifest something, it takes time, but eventually you get something. Yeah, I think that's it. I think this is what I'm saying. I think it's some sort of, chance to pull something in. I think, like you find like places of worship or holy places, and through the ancient times and all the rest of it, these places have got some sort of energy. I know like a lot of them are based on ley lines and that, but they're drawing energy, and I wonder if that's some sort of way of conjuring, what the ancients knew of pulling this energy through to help with this conjuring of what these spirits. I don't know what these spirits can do for us. Not quite looked into that yet, apart from, I'll talk about something along those lines at the end. I think it's Egorias or whatever they're calling them now. Similar thing. But anyway, stuff started happening after a year. They'd get the rapping on the table, they'd get voices coming through, they'd get touched and all that. And so they invited people from the SPR to come and sit with them. And there was another guy who was... SPR? What's SPR? SPR is the... Society for Psychical Research. Right. It's been going for hundreds of years, 100 years or so. And it's full of scientists and paranormal researchers. And a lot of their work is just debunk mediums and stuff like that. So go to mediums and say, I'm full of shit. Yeah. So the you need one of them. Yeah, of course you do. So they brought these guys in as well. And these guys heard these things, saw these lights, heard these voices and stuff. There was a guy, Professor David Fontana, who was a psychologist as well, and he was involved in it. So you got all these people, you got quite a lot of people through the years. It was like hundreds of people that witnessed this. Not all the same, obviously, joining different events. And some of the best things that happened at the skull experiments were the stuff that can't really be explained. A lot of it can be explained. I mean, they even had a magician come in to see if he could work out how they was doing this stuff. Because there was one guy who saw a light, but they all saw the light, and it bounced on the table. It was flying around the room, and it was all looking at whoa, and then hit the table, boing, 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 and then boing, and it went up through the table and come out the underneath. It's a solid table, obviously. Bang, and then it comes out, and they all saw it, and so they had a magician come in to try and debunk what was going on, see if he could do these tricks and all, and even he said, no, this is beyond me, what's going on here. But one of the guys that did get in was a guy called Archie Roy, who was an astronomer. And what they did with him, they got what they was meant to be contacting. They was meant to be contacting a team. They called it the Spirit Team that was going through the Ouija board and all the rest of it. So they would ask questions to him and they'd tell him. And this guy, Archie Roy, was an astronomer. And he was asking questions that he said only like 12 people in the country would know the answers to. And the spirits were telling him the answers. So what he was trying to say is that a lot of the people was thinking that it was the people in the room making the answers up. Because when you got the mediums, because a lot of the voices, like I say, was coming through. Some of them were disembodied, but some of them were coming through the mediums themselves, where they like sitting there and they say, "Oh, I feel like like Derek O'Connor and all them, where they go, oh yeah,
I feel like there's a strange presence."
Yeah, and then they start going. They're like talking.
You're on about like where
possession, yeah. So they would be talking normal, and all of a sudden they go,
Oh, back in the 1800s, I was a farmer.
And they're saying, oh, well, yeah, but so a lot of these times when these voices come through, they're actually coming out of these mediums. So I guess skeptics were thinking that these mediums are just making up the answers. But then you got this guy, Archie Roy, who's asking these questions that only like a few people in the country would know the answers to, and he's getting the answers. So he was left there a bit puzzled by the old experience. But some of the things like the healing, these lights had healing abilities. There was one woman who had, I think she had something wrong with her legs, maybe arthritis or something like that. She went there, these lights were attracted to her legs, bouncing off her legs and that. Attracting off her legs, bouncing off her legs and all the rest of it. And actually when she left, she felt like her legs were really better. I don't think it was cured in any way, but felt a lot better. And so these lights were almost having this healing energy, yeah.
Energy.
But some of the most interesting things that happened in the skull experiments were the photos. Now, this is back in the time of the cameras where we used to put film in, And I don't know if anyone's ever done an experiment where they've actually took brand new rolls of film and developed them to see what's on them. Because this happens a lot where people take pictures and then when they get the films developed, there's something in the thing and they try and say, oh, it was already in the photo before the photo was taken. Like, but it was a new roll of film. But anyway, this happened to these. They put a brand new. There was instructed to do this by a Spirit Team. Get a camera, put the new roll of film in, and I think the camera was sat on the table. Obviously, everyone's linking hands, so no one's touching it. During the séance, the camera lifted off the table, and they could hear it. It was obviously this is in the dark. When you're looking for ghosts, you always do it in the dark.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was actually seen, floating around the room. Is there clicking?
How did they see it floating around the room? It was pitch black.
Maybe the flash was on the camera. I don't know.
Maybe.
But they said that, I guess it wasn't totally dark, but they saw the camera floating around anyway. They had the pictures being taken. They had the film being wound on, like it used to. When they developed the photos, they got photos from the war. Loads of old photos were developed on this film, which is strange.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy strange. I like it. I like crazy strange shit.
No, it would be good though.
That would be.
It would be.
That would be. Do you know what? If all you mediums and everybody out there, if you actually do listen to this podcast when it's up, try it.
Yeah.
Email us. Try it and email us.
Someone can do that, then
that's evidence, isn't it? That is.
So anyway, the other things that happened during this was apports. Now, apports are these things that appear out of nowhere. You know what I mean? So just like almost teleported or whatever you want to say, but they're called apports. And there was jewellery, so they'd just be sitting there and all of a sudden they're bang on the table and then they'd turn a light on and there'd be a watch in the middle of the table. No one didn't belong to anyone because these parapsychologists and the PRS team that used to do these experiments with these, what they'd do before going into the room, they'd go and search the room. You know what I mean? So they'd go in, they'd look all around the room. There's nothing in there, nothing under the table. Someone could just come in and say, "Oh, look, I've found that." They'd check the room first. They'd make all the members that were going in the room empty the pockets, so they knew that no one was going in there with anything that they shouldn't have had. So when these things were appearing, there really was appearing out of thin air. There was jewellery, coins. I think from some of the most interesting things. There was a paper. I think there was talking to the spirits about this medium that had been tried for witchcraft or something. Her name was Duncan. And then all of a sudden a paper appears in the middle of the table. Yeah, doosh. They look, turn lights on, there's a paper. It's from the... this is in the 90s. This paper's from the 1940s. And on the front page, there it was, the trial of this this woman that was done for witchcraft, this medium. Anyway, I think a couple of papers come through from the 40s, but they had the obviously they thought, well,
40s witchcraft, wasn't that alien in that?
Oh, I think this was just a recent thing, but anyway, the papers were so pristine, they looked almost brand new. But everything was folded and that, but they looked brand new. And so I was wondering, if there was even real paper. So they had the ink tested. At first, I found out that it was printed in the old-fashioned kind of way of printing. I think that went out in the 70s. Mm-hmm. All the machines that used to do the paper. So to even get it redone would be hard work. Anyway, they tested the paint and they found the ink, and they found that the ink was wartime ink, so it was missing certain chemicals that we didn't have during the war.
Yeah.
So basically, it was a legit paper that just appeared in the middle of the room. Now, if these guys are searching everybody before they go in and emptying the pockets, no one's going in there with a newspaper.
No.
You know what I mean?
Do you reckon? Right, I've got a crazy thought. It's crazy. This might be a bit mental for some people, but listen to what you've been saying in that, as I do. My crazy thought is, could it be there's enough energy in that room to send a portal back in time, back to the past? Do you know, say people speaking to ghosts, but I was sure they're just not travelling back in time through different planes, the universe. Say there's multi-universes, past, present, future, and you're seeing these things coming through a portal. Well, there's no other explanation of things dropping on the table what aren't there. It's there's just been a few stories lately where people have been climbing through cupboards and fucking seeing them all themselves and stuff like that.
Heard them. But I don't know if it's a case of...
if you reckon if you get enough energy, mental energy, your energy, everyone's energy is in there, built up over a space of a time, could be on a ley line or whatever.
Yeah.
You sure it's not going back? You're not opening a portal to the past?
No.
Because if you think about it, Einstein says you can time travel.
Yeah.
Right? So why can't it be because I haven't really spoken to anyone from the future, but for all we know, the future's already happened. We're dead, if you think about it that way. And then there's people in the future speaking to us and wanting things off us, and we're seeing there's doing tests from scientists are doing tests through portals all the time, aren't they? So,
but I think
will it be the same?
I think these spirits they're obviously dead, and I think the items that they were bringing were items that were significant to them. I don't know whether they took them, took these items. Like the Egyptians,
used to bury them,
used to take
and all that stuff.
I don't know if that is there's some sort of element in that where these people are taking stuff with them when they die, and so these things that they're bringing back through this, this if you want to work, if you will, this portal that's being created.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a case down the road here where.
Sounds more it sounds like things dropping on the table out of thin air, out of nothing. It sounds more like a portal.
Yeah.
So another
and spirits
time
do
place.
normally come through a portal. I mean, like I say, there's a case down the road where there was poltergeist was going on in the house. Poltergeist stuff, things moving around, apparitions being seen, and I think the apparition was familiar to the family because I think it was the husband's brother who had died at sea. I think, and that's the thought. Anyway, but things were being moved, and it was scaring the wife and the children. So even though it was his brother, it was still scaring him. I mean, you get up in the middle of the night and there's someone stood next to your bed or whatever. It's whether he's a family member or not. It's just, and they asked him to move on or whatever, and he didn't. So they had to get a medium in to move him on. And this medium, what would happen in the bedroom, in the corner, in the alcove, in the bedroom? Every now and again in the morning, they'd find this picture on the floor from the alcove. Then the nail was still in the wall, but the picture was on the floor. And they'd put it back up, and then a few days later, it'd be on the ground again. And they just couldn't work out what was going on. But they knew things were moving around the house, so they just put it down to this poltergeist activity that was going on. When the medium came to the house, he was drawn upstairs, and he came into the bedroom where this picture kept falling off the wall. And he said, he didn't know anything about this. They hadn't told him anything. He went straight over to that wall, and he said, "This is the portal where it comes in and out." And then he said, well, where's the portal? And he says, it's this big, and he made, showed where his hands were. And the portal, what he said, it encompassed this picture. And so they said, all right, well, what about that picture? And he said, yeah, well, have you ever noticed this picture moved or on it's literally, as it fell off before? And they said, yeah, a few times. He said, yeah, well, that's what's happening. When he's coming through the portal, he's knocking that picture off. The energy of him coming through is actually knocking that picture off. Anyway, eventually he was able to close that portal, but the spirit was coming. I think this is what's happening here, where this portal's the energy. And you think about, like I say, these ancient places where, these tombs in Malta where They've got these acoustic properties that's unbelievable. Same as Stonehenge. It's all about bringing this energy and this bubble, if you like, to bring forth these entities. I don't know if we'll ever know what they did, but I think this is still going on in modern times. I think there's certain sects of people that know about these rituals and still do these rituals. I'll come on to them at the end.
That's my question answered, anyways.
Yeah. Well, the UN, and I'll just briefly talk about it now. The UN's got a meditation room, and when you start looking into that, there's a lot of strange things going on there. I mean, there's a big block of metal in the middle of it, and all kinds of ritual sort of stuff. But
scientists know what they're doing. They must know about it.
Then you've got like the Bilderberg Group's rituals with that owl, and
yeah,
you know, and
even the Illuminati have got some crazy fucking rituals.
Yeah, I don't believe that there's an Illuminati.
No, neither do I.
I believe that there's a Freemasons, and I believe that the Illuminati is a philosophy.
No, the Illuminati is fucking hell. What is an Illuminati? Oh, fuck no, ignore that.
I don't think it's an actual.
No, the Illuminati is a secret thingy society that, you know, like the fucking, what do they call it? The Ark of the Covenant.
Yeah.
Like Indiana Jones. It's
the way I look at
the biggest secret ever.
The way I look at Illuminati is like the word Al Qaeda. You know, where it's just that broad umbrella term for all these other, you know, like ETA or Boko Haram, Taliban. You know, they all fall under Al Qaeda, and I think that's similar to what the people use the expression Illuminati for. I think it's talking about, it's an umbrella term for the organisations underneath, rather than an organisation itself. But anyway, so the UN said, the Bilderberg Group and all these, they always do these rituals, and I think it's all to draw these bodies in which they call them egros or something, which I'll probably do a show on these rituals that take place. And some involve human sacrifices and all the rest of it. If you believe
surprise me, why not? Sick cults.
Yeah. This summoning ghost and all the rest of it, it's been brought right up to date with a recent book by a guy called Robert Cherneck, who wrote a book called The Bye-Bye Man and Other Strange But True Tales. He tells a story of a friend of his called Eli held this party. You've heard of The Bye-Bye Man?
No.
And they're going on about doing a film.
It's not, like I said, there's things I like and there's things I don't like. I'm not really into this sort of stuff.
They're doing a film on... they're meant to be doing a film soon on this. Actually, it comes out in December, so I'm looking forward to this. But he met this guy, he knows this friend, Eli, holds this devil's party the night before Halloween. And at the end of the party, he asks people that are present to tell their paranormal tales. And so when everyone's done telling their stories, he tells his. And his is the tale of this bye-bye man. What it was, it started back in, I think it was 1990 in Wisconsin. And there was three of their friends that were college students. There was Eli, Catherine and Jonathan. Anyway, I think he said it was in the winter in Wisconsin and there was nothing to do and all the rest of it. And they had a Ouija board. So they thought, let's give it a crack. So they started doing it. Nothing was happening. And Robert tells of Eli's one of those guys where if he's involved, nothing happens. You know what I mean? So he said, I'll tell you what, I'll step back from this. You two do the Ouija board, Jonathan and Catherine, and I'll make notes. So anyway, so that started, and then things started happening, messages started coming through, and he even blindfolded Catherine and Jonathan while I was doing the Ouija board, and they were still getting messages come through. So anyway, this was good for a while, and eventually they got bored. There was all these messages coming through. And they was actually talking to, again, like the skull experience, they was talking to a person that came through the board to talk to them. Like they had the spirit team, they had the spirit of the board, that's what he was calling himself. And he'd bring through these spirits to talk to him. They'd ask him questions. He said, right, I've got somebody that wants to talk to you. And these people that he's bringing through were all people that had died. That it was all real people. They weren't demonic energies or anything. And eventually he kept saying, there's someone trying to contact you, but he's evil. So I don't want him to come through. Now, anybody in that situation is going to think, I want to speak to him. You know what I mean? Which you would, wouldn't you?
Would straight away be like, wow.
So Eli's like, whoa, fucking hell, this is what I've been waiting for, because he's getting bored of all these people coming through with the shitty stories. So he says, I want to speak to him, and the board says, no, he's dangerous and all the rest. I don't want you to talk to him. So they said, I tell you what then. Eli says, tell you what, you can fuck off, you know what I mean? We'll not talk to you. anymore. And the board didn't like that. The board really wanted to talk to people. Right? That was its thing, you know. It just wants to talk to people. So after a while, the board relented and it said, okay, you know what I mean, so I'll let you contact this guy. Anyway, this guy that came through was the Bye-Bye Man. That's what he called himself. Now, this Bye-Bye Man said that he was born in Louisiana, I think it was, in the 1920s. Now, he was an albino. He was blind, and he said that he was put in an orphanage by his parents because of his, you know, his albino, and he was blind. And obviously, he's put in an orphanage in Algiers. I don't think, when looking into the research of this, I don't think this place existed, this orphanage and that. But it doesn't take away from the story. The story's still good. So anyway, this is where he said he'd come through, and he said that he was trying to escape from this place, and he'd get away, but because he was blind, they'd find him and bring him back. Anyway, eventually, when he got older, into his teens or whatever, he managed to escape by attacking a nurse with some scissors. I don't think he killed her, but he attacked her and managed to get away. And what he did, he got on a train. And so, you know, these hobos do, where they jump on a train and then they travel to place. So these murders started happening along the trains. Every time he got off, and, you know, there'd be someone there and kill him. Because I think that it's all related to voodoo, because it was New Orleans and all the rest of it. So voodoo was big. And what he'd do, when he'd kill his people, he'd remove their eyes and he'd remove the tongues. Okay, so, and he'd keep them in a bag, which he called the bag of gore. So he'd keep all these eyes and these tongues in this bag. And he'd jump back on the train, kill someone else. Yeah. And eventually he had this bag full of eyes and things that he actually conjured up a bit. The eyes and the tongues became a being. You know, through voodoo or whatever, he conjured up this being called Gloomsinger. And that was made up of these tongues and eyes. So you can imagine it's like walking on its tongues. That's why I can't wait for the film, because if this isn't there, it'll be cool. So it's walking on its tongues, got all these eyes. And actually, that became the Bye-Bye Man's eyes. And so Gloomsinger would find people. So the idea was, you know, like these old folklores where, like, Candyman, you know, and stuff. Yeah. And stuff like that, where you say the name and he comes for you. Well, it's the same with the Bye-Bye Man. Once you recognise the name Bye-Bye Man and you thought about it, he'd
like White Lady and all that.
Yeah, he'd home in on you. Yeah. And so he'd use Gloomsinger to go and find these people. Once Gloomsinger found the person that, you know, could see him, it'd whistle, this high-pitched whistle. And so the Bye-Bye Man could home in on it, you know, because he's blind. So he'd follow this whistle, and that he would get his victim. So anyway, this is coming through the board. Anyway, once all this started coming through, Catherine, I think, was freaked out by it, because I think the board at one point said, look, he's homing in on you guys now, because obviously you're thinking about him, so he's homing in on you. So Catherine freaked out. She said, I don't want anything to do with this. It was understandable. And so that was it, really. They left it alone. And I think it was a few weeks later, I think Eli went round to see Catherine, and Catherine was saying how she couldn't sleep, she was having panic attacks. You know, thinking about this, it was really, really at her heart. So Eli suggested that she go with him to his hometown of Warsaw and, you know, just take a break from it all. So she went with him. And while he was there, he wanted to see this island called the Barker Stewart Island, I think it was. It was also known as Body Island because of the lumberjacks that used to work upstream. When they fell in the water, sometimes the bodies get washed up on this island. So it was called Body Island. So he wanted to go and look at this island. So while he was there, he was down at the bottom, you know, by the riverbank and that, looking at this island, and she was on the railway track that goes across. And while she was up there, she said she heard this high-pitched whistle. Now, not unusual for a railway track, but because she's got this Bye-Bye Man in her head, she hears this whistle, freaks out. Anyway, she wanted to go and whatever, so that was that with those two. Anyway, Eli went to see Jonathan, and Jonathan was having the same problems. He couldn't sleep and he was having all these panic attacks and that. And he told this story to Eli where one night, well, he was in bed and he woke up half asleep, you know how you do, and he could hear knocking at the door, and you can actually hear Catherine's voice saying to him, get up, Jonathan, let's go for breakfast. You come in, you know, knocking on the door, you come in, let's go for breakfast. And he's there and he's wiping sleep out his eyes and all the rest of it, and he's walking to the door, he says, yeah, hang on, I'm coming. And then all of a sudden he realises that it's the middle of the night. Now, why would Catherine be knocking on the door in the middle of the night asking for breakfast? Not only that, but he was in a boarding house with a locked door at the bottom, so she wouldn't be able to access during the night. He freaks out. He falls to the floor, and as he falls to the floor, he sees the legs, the feet in the light underneath the door, so he knows someone's there. Anyway, I think he freaked out or whatever, and eventually this thing obviously left in the morning. And so this is a similar thing to this summoning up a ghost. I mean, they're doing this Ouija board, and then this thing comes through and starts attaching to them. whether you believe such things or whether it's in their mind, but that's kind of the point, really. Is this is almost a manifestation of your mind, you know. It's something you can create.
Yeah. My mum said she did a Ouija board when she was at school with her mates being stupid, and she said nothing happened. Because it was back in the day, like, or was it something happened? I can't remember. I'll have to ask her.
Well, I think a lot of these experiments, I think it seems like, you know, the people do it a few times before something happens. You know, it's. It
seems like it's not done over that night. Is it?
Done happen straight away. It looks like it does have to be. The energy does have to build and then eventually you get one of these spirits that come through.
Yeah, like a year.
But
there's only one way to try that is by doing it yourself for a year, or for as long as it takes.
Yeah, well, if someone's willing to do that.
Go get a little Ouija board. You can buy them from Woolworths or Wilco's or whatever.
Woolworths exists in them, doesn't it?
No, it does. Yeah, in Australia.
Is it?
Yeah.
But
it's an Australian company, isn't it?
Get Ouija boards or spirit boards.
Yeah, you can buy them off the internet.
Yeah,
you can buy anything off the internet.
If someone wants to try that, and email us and let us know how that went.
Yeah, please.
But yeah, so can you summon up a spirit? I say yes.
I say we go find our own thing and try it. I'm not convinced.
Well, I'll take notes.
I'm not convinced. It's one of them miss ones. It's like, do you believe them? Do you not? Kind of thing. It's like mediums, isn't it? Do you believe them?
I believe some.
That's what I mean. Believe some. It's like people have been abducted by aliens. Do you believe them? 99% of them, no.
I believe some. So I think there's something to this. I think there's enough. I'm going to say the word evidence. I think there's enough evidence here. If you've got any stories for the show, or you want to be on the show, then just email us at dbtopodcast@gmail.com. Subscribe anywhere, everywhere, YouTube, iTunes.
I'm on Facebook, by the way, people.
And you can catch me on Twitter. I've had quite a few good conversations actually recently on Twitter with certain people about certain things. Flat Earth being one of them, but
Flat Earth, that fucking makes me out of that.
So bye for now.
Bye.